Coming up on today's show.
Make it so it's easy for everyone else to use. Don't set it up with only you in mind. That is, unless you want everyone to depend on you when they're in need of locating an item.
Do you think this is something, though, where people need to get together and come up with this as a team, or is it something you create and then say, hey, by the way, guys, here's our system?
Or for car, they might write BMW. Don't do that because you might not have a BMW in 5 years.
Yes. Avoiding common organizing mistakes today on Keeping You Organized. Hello and welcome to Keeping You Organized. Today we are going to get basic here. We're going to look at some of those common mistakes that people make when they're trying to get organized, and we're going to help you correct those. And joining us is certified professional organizer Diane Albright. Diane, how are you doing today?
I'm very good. How are you, John?
Great. It's been a while since you've been on the podcast. I know your earlier episode was one of our favorite ones for viewers and listeners because you had some great tips there. So we wanted to get you back, and we're going to talk about common organizing mistakes because I think if we can get over some of these basics, that's going to help people get moving forward. A lot of times people just get overwhelmed, right? When you first meet someone and they're overwhelmed. How do I start? And you just give them some little steps to go. So how do we want to kick this off today?
Well, first I'm going to talk about some things that you want to think about when you want to get organized. I'm going to talk about some things that you should be doing, and then I'm going to talk about some things that you should be avoiding.
Okay.
So you can get organized and stay organized.
Awesome. So let's start then. Where's step one?
Well,
after we get together and meet with you, all right? So then we've met with,
Yes. So when setting up an organizational system, make it so it's easy for everyone else to use. Don't set it up with only you in mind. That is, unless you want everyone to depend on you when they're in need of locating an item. So whether at home or work, the system should require little or no instruction for others to use. Preferably, it should be self-explanatory. Right. That ensures everyone can easily find what they're looking for. At work, set up systems so coworkers, your boss, or your assistant can easily locate what they need when you're not available. This way, if you're off of work for a sick day or vacation day, you won't get texts asking you, where is something? Right. Your office can continue functioning without you, and will also decrease the amount of work you have to do when you return if they can function without you there.
So do you think this is something, though, where people need to get together and come up with this as a team, or is it something you create and then say, hey, by the way, guys, here's our system? I mean, what do you think?
I think taking into consideration the different types of people you have working with you, but also taking into consideration that those people may not be there one day. So it has to be very general, that it fits everyone, but not each person's personality, because those people may not be there. So it has to be general enough for everyone to use and easy to understand. So it should require little or no instruction from you. So a temporary assistant can actually come in and use the system.
Now,
you really have to put thought into it. It's not about what's going to work for you. It's going to work what's going to work for the entire office.
Now, do you think you should have this kind of in a document, like a manual, or is that what you're saying, go to that level, or just maybe some bullet points?
Well, what I do for my clients, I have a system. It's called Work Piles Made Easy.
Okay. And
what I do for that system, when I'm done working with one of my business clients, I actually give them an index card that has all the categories, which there aren't very many categories. There's only 10 categories to it. And it defines each category. So if somebody had to go back and refer to it, or you have a new staff member, you can easily cover the system. But it's a system that works so easily, it needs very little instruction to use it. And that's what you want to gear towards, a system that needs little instruction to use, that somebody can just jump in and use the system.
Now, can you give us an idea what are some of the topics on those index cards?
It's actually just one index card, and it lists all 10 categories and defines them. So for example, one of the categories is to do, another category is to file, another category is to read, things like that. So you have different categories that when you're sorting your work papers, you easily have a category to put them in. So actually my system, Work Piles Made Easy, takes care of all of your workload that you have in your office, including projects. And they're clearly defined so somebody else can come in. If you're away on a business trip and you need a certain document, a staff member can easily come in and find it.
Okay. So is this something that you'd kind of have available? Everyone knows where that particular thing is then, the system? Okay, great. All right, I kind of got off the sidetrack on there, but I was kind of curious. But that happens, I wander around a lot, and So let's get back to what we originally were talking about.
Work piles made easy can be for another day.
Okay, all right.
We can go back and revisit that another time.
Okay, great. So just to get us back then, so we're trying to make sure we have a system that everyone can use. We're going to keep it simple. What might be an example of, maybe you can use a client example or two as what that system might look like or contain?
Well, first of all, to set up the ideal organizational system, create categories and use labels to identify the categories.
Okay.
Remember, the categories need to be broad and a place that you can easily put something and take it back out again. So it could be, the categories can be for bins, it could be for file folders, doesn't make a difference. You just want to create the categories and label them. And keep in mind, we use 20% of our things 80% of the time. So it's difficult to remember where the other 80% are. That's why labeling is really important. Okay. When creating the categories, like I said, select broad categories. Don't create categories that are overly specific. For example, if you're in your home and you're labeling a pantry, don't label a shelf soda, but instead label it drinks. Because one day you may be drinking soda, the next year you may be drinking sports drinks. So you want to have it be a general category, not too specific. And if you're creating a file folder, for example, at home, you want to create a file folder for your dog. Don't create the file folder dog, instead create it pets, because you may have a dog today and a cat, in a few months. So again, it's covering a general category so the system doesn't get outdated in a few months or in a year. Right. So this way you can stay on top of things because it's not too specific. Right. And also too, same thing with a car. Don't create a file folder called BMW, but instead create a file folder called auto. And use those same principles at work as well. A broader category can cover more topics.
Now, should there be more a limit to the number of top level categories, or do you just kind of do what seems right and then start subdividing below that?
There's a method to the madness.
Okay.
I always say if there's going to be less than 5 pieces of paper in the file folder, create a broader category. Okay. Because 5 pieces of paper maybe are about the thickness of a file folder. So you don't want to have more file folders than you have papers. You don't want the file folders taking up the majority of the space. You want the papers taking up the majority of the space. So if there's less than 5 files for a file folder, consider creating a broader category. If you have a category, for example, at home for insurance, and you have different types of insurance like disability, homeowners, life, things like that, you can create the broad category insurance, but then inside have interior file folders to break up those categories. So it's all under insurance, but then it's homeowners, life, disability, things like that.
Right. Okay. So if we're going to call this one of the common mistakes, would you call this not having a system? Kind of, or would you say this is like set up category, not setting up categories?
The mistake here is people get too detailed in the title.
Got it.
So, for example, for pets, they might write Fido.
Yep.
Or for car, they might write BMW. Don't do that because you might not have a BMW in 5 years.
Yes.
So have it auto or have it pets. So, and also too, going back to you want a system that everybody can use. If you have it pets, people know to look under pets. If you have it under Fido, you're not sure if your family member is going to look under pets, dog, or Fido.
Right.
So you want a broad category so someone's not relying on your detailedness and they can find it easily. Because again, you want to keep it general so somebody else can find it.
Okay.
And not only so it's outdated, but general so somebody else can find it in your household or at work. So again, with insurance, that broad category of insurance, everybody thinks of insurance when they think of disability insurance, life insurance, homeowners insurance. You can easily go to the word insurance and not worry, is it under disability? Is it under insurance? So that's why the general categories are very important.
Okay, great. So let's move on to maybe another common mistake and how you would resolve that.
Another common mistake is getting too detailed with color coding files. Some people think I have to color code the files. You don't want to do that. The only color, if you're color coding, the only color you probably would remember is green for money. And any other color, you're not going to remember what it's for. And no one else is going to remember what the colors are for.
Right.
So it's okay to use a simple color coding for files if you wanted to. When I say simple, that means 2 colors at the most.
Right.
So you might have a set of files that are very important, and those are in red file folders. And you might have the rest of your file folders another color. It could be green, it could be yellow, it could be blue, but don't have a different color for each type of file. So at most, just have 2 different colors for files if you need them. And I do think that's important sometimes when you don't want certain types of files to get mixed up with the others. So it certainly is okay to have your important files in red and your not important files in a different color.
Right. No, I think that's a great tip, because I think a lot of times people get just hung up on the whole idea, I got to have all kinds of colors, and I like pretty colors, and they end up having a rainbow filing, system, or however you're going to use these colors, and they're all over the board. And then someone said, "Well, what was red again?" Yeah, I mean that's a good point. Well, we're going to take a quick. Well, okay, go ahead.
I'm saying if you like colors, it's okay to use all different color file folders, but don't have them mean anything.
Right. Yeah, I know there's one person we had talked to earlier that they just liked a certain color because that was their favorite color. And that's okay too. So we are going to take a quick break, and when we come back, we're going to talk about more common organizing mistakes that you want to avoid. We're with certified professional organizer Diane Albright, and we'll be right back. Now there's a place just for you. Life can be busy, and you still have to keep it all together. That's why you like to be organized and in control. Introducing MyOrganized.life, a special place where you can get ideas and solutions to organize what's important to you, your important papers, your important decisions, your important life events. We show you the ideas and products to stay organized in your life. See what's new. Stop by and say hello. Visit us at any time at www.myorganized.life. It's just for you. MyOrganized.life by Smead. Find us at www.myorganized.life. MyOrganized.life. We're back now on Keeping You Organized, talking about how to avoid those common organizing mistakes, things that may seem like they're a little simple, but people overlook. And joining us is Diane Albright, certified professional organizer. You're in the Pennsylvania area, is that correct?
I'm outside of Philadelphia in Allentown.
Okay.
So I'm in what's called the Lehigh Valley. So it's Allentown, Bethlehem, Easton, but also Philadelphia, even into New York City. Great.
And you also have a kind of a unique thing. You have a retail store as well where you sell organizing products. Is that correct?
Yes, I have a retail store. We have organizing products. We have closet systems and garage systems. And I'm also a designer for pull-out shelving.
Great. Well, that would be fun to visit someday. So today we're talking about these common mistakes, and I'm sure you run into them. You deal with clients all the time. So we've covered a few. Let's get into some more. What would be the next common mistake we want to avoid?
When taking on an organizing project, don't buy containers before you begin. You'll need to sort through and purge to determine what you have left to store. So sometimes people think they have to buy all these containers and have them ready. No, first purge, see what you need, and then go out and buy them.
Right. Well, I think that would also be helpful too, because there may be a different kind of container. You might want to be able to see through it. You might not want to. And I think I did that one time too, where I measured the shelves. I said, I can fit 3 here, 3 here. And then you get home and it's like, okay, well, what am I going to put in them, right?
Right.
Okay.
And then also wasted space. A lot of times we have wasted space because we need to leave space above items to see back there, reach back there, pull things out. So make sure the airspace above things is very minimal. So what happens is, for example, at home in a pantry, some people think they have to have all their baking items on one shelf. So they might have a bag of flour, they might have a bottle of vanilla, a can of cocoa, which are all different heights, which is going to give you a lot of airspace above the vanilla or above the cocoa. What you want to do, though, is think of your storage space, the categories, going vertical, not horizontal. So that means if you have a space above the flour, that shelf can have a shorter height and put smaller things like the cocoa or the vanilla. Right. To give you a perfect example, because it's a little bit hard to understand, to get rid of that extra airspace, think of Coke in the grocery store, a bottle of Coke, Diet Coke, whatever it may be. So think of soda in the grocery store. They don't put all the Coke on one shelf. They don't put the cans next to the 22-ounce bottles next to the 2-liter bottle, but instead they have it going in a column. So it's a 2-liter bottle of Coke, alongside of it is a 2-liter bottle of root beer, 2-liter bottle of orange, and then the smaller bottles are below it and the cans are below it. And they're not putting all the Coke on one shelf. So in your pantry at home, don't think you have to put the same category on one shelf, because you're going to have a lot of airspace above items. Instead, put the cocoa and the vanilla on a shelf above the flour that doesn't have as much space, and then you're going to really maximize your space. Did you follow me on that one?
I think that's a phenomenal tip, because as you're talking through, I'm going through my pantry. Wait a minute, we put all the pasta together, but you've got the little thin ones and you got the big ones, and it's like, okay, now I get it. That would be because you're dealing with volume, right? And there's a certain amount, you just want to minimize the amount of wasted volume. Yeah, that's great. That is a phenomenal tip.
And that one I always use soda to explain, because people don't understand that. But just think of soda. When you want to maximize your space, get rid of that airspace, think of soda.
Yeah, and like in a store, like you probably in your, I could imagine in your retail store, you're talking limited space. No matter what size your store is, they don't want to have things where there's all this dead space in between different items. So that's a great tip.
Right.
What other ones do you have for us?
And like I said before, the first step in getting organized is to purge and get rid of what you don't want or need. And you want to designate bags or boxes for that. But more importantly, make a definite plan as to when you will be dropping these items off. A common pitfall is letting the giveaways and recycling sit in a room or a garage. And even if you need to designate someone else to drop it off for you, make sure you do that, because otherwise you do this great organizing project of decluttering, and then that bag or that box sits there and you never get rid of it.
So how do you put like a appointment on your calendar? What's the way you do that? I mean, make a commitment. Okay.
Yes, make a commitment. If you know you're going near the recycling center on a certain day, put an appointment in your calendar, put that box or bag in your car to make sure you do it. Don't just let it sit there. Make a definite point to get rid of it. And if you have trouble doing it, then just ask a friend or a relative to drop it off for you.
Right. I've heard of people who have garage sales, and what they do is they determine the ending time based on about 45 minutes before the Goodwill closes, so they can end their garage sale, put everything in their car, and take it over and be done with it. So, great. Now, we're almost out of time here. Do you have anything else any other common mistakes that we want to cover? I want to make sure we get as many as we can.
Yes. Organizing takes much more time than you think, but the key is to divide your organizing project into achievable segments. Don't pull everything out of your garage or your clothes closet thinking you will get it all done. Because before you know it, it's nightfall and you're trying to clean the clothes off your bed, or you're trying to fit your car back in your garage and you can't because you've pulled everything out. So what you need to do is divide it into achievable segments. So if you have an hour and you want to clean out your clothes closet, just in that hour, first go through and look through your closet and see what clothes don't fit or what you don't want. Pull those out. Don't pull everything out of your closet. Just divide into achievable segments. So first, for a clothes closet, you would be purging, looking at what you don't want, what doesn't fit anymore. That could be just one segment. The next segment could be grouping your clothes by category. So putting all your tops together, all your pants together, things like that. So divide it into achievable segments. Don't take on more than what time you have to work on it. Because otherwise you're going to pull everything out and it's going to look worse than when you start it. And then you're just going to hang it up and say, you know what, I can't get organized. But you really can.
Yeah. Well, and I think a lot of people, when they start doing, even if they give themselves a small amount of time to do something, they end up doing more anyway. So it's a good way to get just motivated and started with a project that maybe the grandness of it overwhelms you. But this is a good way to break it into pieces. All right. Anything? Got time for one more?
That organization takes maintenance. So there's very few things that don't require maintenance, just like your lawn and your laundry require maintenance. So organization requires it as well. So your house or your office isn't going to stay organized unless you take the time to maintain it. For example, your file folders and clothes closet will need to be purged, once a year. So take the time to do that. So as far as file folders, maybe say you're going to go through 5 file folders a day until you get through them. Or your clothes closet, make a definite appointment maybe twice a year to go through it. So it does require the maintenance. You just have to make that appointment with yourself to do it. Right. Otherwise, it's going to go right back to the way it was if you don't do any maintenance to it.
All right. So let's take a few minutes here to tell people what kind of work you do, how they get a hold of you, how they find you, and your website, and then we'll wrap it up.
Well, first of all, my website is DianeAlbright.com. It's Diane with one N, Albright with one L. I keep the clutter out.
Nice.
And we work with residential clients and business clients, small business to corporations. I'm a professional speaker, love doing that, love motivating people. I'm a motivational speaker and do a lot of work with the media, do a lot of TV segments and articles with magazines and newspapers. And we work with clients anywhere, not just in our area. Like I said, I'm in Allentown, Pennsylvania. We work with clients in Philly, New York City, but we also work with clients virtually anywhere, or we also travel to clients as well. So from residential to small business to corporate clients, I have a team of organizers, so we can help an array of people. And it's for anybody. It's for moms, for dads, for people who want to be more productive. And I also say, too, my favorite client to work with is somebody who's already organized, because I'd like to take them to the next level after that.
That's great advice. All right. Well, Diane, again, thank you for being on. I'm sure we'll have you back again to do, we have a lot more to cover, but we've got to be ending here. And so hope we can get back in between all your busy TV schedules, and we'll have the contact information for you in our show notes as well. So again, thanks for being on with us today.
Thank you, Todd. It was my pleasure.
All right. There you have it, folks. Hopefully you've gotten I know I've gotten a few good tips, because I'm going to go home and implement these things. But again, if you need information about what we talked about today, go to our podcast page at smead.com/podcast, and we'll catch you on our next episode of Keeping You Organized.